You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Velas Jones from the goal line for the Bears. Has a seam. Rumbles all the way out to the 30, and the ball came out.
There's another example of the poor offensive line play affecting the quarterback.
Lucas Patrick's got a hand injury. The starting center will not go tonight. Fields throwing and finds Komet in a seam. Down to the 20. Big pickup and some emotion out of the Chicago tight end. Gain of 19. 3rd and 4. Got it to Herbert in a really slow developing play, and that was read easily by Josh Jones.
Playmaking in the back end.
The always reliable Cairo Santos out of the hold of the rookie punter Trenton Gill. And from 35 yards away, it's good. And settling in here now with Chicago. Here's Ebner. Nearly had him for a loss. Nwosu had him back behind the line of scrimmage. 3rd down and 3. Knocked up, knocked down. Angelo Blackson got the hand to bat it down to the turf, and it's 4th down.
Getting the right hand up's not going to bat that ball down. That left hand goes up, and all of a sudden you get off the field defensively.
2nd straight 3 and out for the Seahawks. Velas Jones trying to make a spark down the sideline. He's done just that. Here's the rookie Velas Jones. Well in Seattle territory. 2nd down and goal from the 2. Simeon wants to throw for it. And able to connect. Touchdown, Chicago. It's Jake Tonjes, the rookie out of Cal, on the receiving end.
And how many times do you see a quarterback miss this throw? This is a little bit more difficult than maybe you think it is, and he puts it right on the money there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful job to just make like that. That throw has to be out basically on the front pad, the face mask.
Again, no Drew Lock tonight. Tested positive for COVID on Tuesday. Here's Travis Homer. Good cutback by Homer. 1st down yardage and more. Running away from people across midfield is Travis Homer. Kicking off preseason week number 2. Geno Smith in there. Expect to see him for a long time. That's Noah Fant, the tight end. Came over in the Russell Wilson trade.
I mean, it's just, practicing, having note cards, of course, when we first started to install the offense. And then, as I got more comfortable with the offense, it's just,
Give him chip help. See if you can get a chunk in the middle of the field.
Trying to set it up for the tight end, Colby Parkinson. To the 30. Gain of 7. Bears are saying they've got the football. Here's 3rd and 5. Geno's been in there the whole way. No Drew Lock tonight after testing positive for COVID. Out of the backfield is DJ Dallas. Galloping down the sideline. 3rd and 15. Geno's going to go down. Good coverage in the secondary.
Garoppolo was out there on the street.
3rd and 10. Hawks rushing 4, and they get there with no additional help. Miles Adams.
And then there comes that internal stunt, and you're stepping basically right up into a defender that is expecting you to be there. That's why when you marry those defensive stunts together, it's really hard on the quarterback.
Cade Johnson signaling to the fair catch, and he muffed it. After the fair catch, he muffed it. And the Bears are on it in the end zone for a touchdown. After the muff by Cade Johnson.
You see, he just doesn't field the ball and take it all the way in.
And recovered in the end zone by the kicking team. Touchdown.
Get every single rep, so these are paramount for him to come out and just put out good tape for the rest of the league.
2nd and 15, nothing doing on this drive. Good job, Chicago defense.
Who's going to be that guy?
Peterman on the run. Throwing's got a man, it's caught. Isaiah Coulter to the 10 where he's forced out, and the marker comes in, gain of 23.
Big body tight end.
2nd and goal. Evans straight up the middle. Touchdown, Bears.
It's tough to negotiate with players who are arguing on their own behalf. Stevie numerous times mentioned the fact that the conversations have been short. They've been brief. Isn't beneficial to the player. The guaranteed money isn't beneficial to the player. And maybe that's part of the sticking point. I don't know, because we don't know what they offered him. Although Ryan said it was a record-setting deal, but something is holding it up. And Roquan doesn't like it.
And, yeah, I've never had this before. No, it's an upgrade to the status that I have now, so I guess I'm feeling good.
Yeah, you deserve it.
And you can tell on the field as well. He's comfortable. He's confident. And he's getting through, he's getting through everything, progression-wise and everything. Don't want to damage the house, so make sure I catch everything.
Yeah, I'm sure it's great for the decor. Thanks so much, Darnell. Steve, you got one in your house, too.
I'm getting one tomorrow. Aaron Fuller. Couple of bullets from Jacob Eason, looking good here on this drive.
Look, he's settled into a nice rhythm here.
Who do I trust that when I throw him the ball, he's going to have a chance to go make a play?
Parkinson's had a great camp. He goes 6-7. There's Darwin Thompson crashing down inside the 5, gain of 16.
And he's someone who right now is getting a great opportunity.
Here's Thompson again on first down and goal. That'll go for a loss. Jason Myers missed earlier from 47. This from 27. Gets the Seahawks on the board.
Elite scheme, which Nathaniel Hackett brings over, and high-end perimeter talent. He's had high-end perimeter talent when he's been in Seattle. I just don't think he's had both at the same time.
Here's Symbol Webster down the sideline. And finally run down by Kobe Bryant with a C.
So it's a very challenging situation for him.
Peterman wanted Shaw, knocked away by Kobe Bryant, rookie out of Cincinnati.
So while there's challenges for this offense, and he definitely has to get mechanically improved, you watch some of those plays and you say, that is franchise special.
And that was a nice job on the part of the Bears defense doing so.
3rd down and 8. Eason trying to get out of there and could not escape. Sam Kamara and Charles Snowden getting there. 3rd sack of the night.
I love it. I love it.
About time. Here's 3rd and goal. Peterman throwing for it, and it's knocked away. Isaiah Coulter went up.
You know, really this next week going into the regular season is, that can't be the where their roster is, that can't be a thing that they have to deal with weekly.
That's muffed. Daz Newsome couldn't handle it, and Seattle says they have it. On the 10th punt of the night by Michael Dixon. Washington. Eason throwing and completing catch. Cade Johnson. Trying to draw to Darwin Thompson. Does he get there? Yes, he does. Touchdown, Seahawks.
But as far as that young man's career is concerned, that's the kind of tape you want to put out there.
This is good practice as well on the 2-point conversion. Throwing, caught. Cade Johnson back of the end zone. From Jacob Eason.
Well, happy
onside kick. Recovered by Seattle. Seahawks aren't done. Argued about in the booth. Here's Jacob Eason. Looking for more points in a hurry, and it is knocked away. Arthego Whiteside and Bo Pete Keys. Keys knocking it away at the last second. Bears rush 4. And looking for a flag was Aaron Fuller.
The last thing I'll say about the quarterback situation with Pete, as far as Pete is concerned, remember when he said to us, and it's an old moniker when you're talking about quarterback play anyway, he said when you have 2 quarterbacks, then that means you don't have 1.
Yeah.
And I think that's the situation here, right? I mean, they truly right now feel as though they don't really have a solution.
Both of these teams, but we probably have some takeaways, right, Jamie?
Absolutely. What do we think about Bears being winner of the Seahawks last night? We must have had our eyes thought we were going to look at somebody, and then all of a sudden we're looking at somebody else, and what does this mean in the grander scheme of things for either one of these teams?
It's so hard for us to talk preseason football as if they're regular season football games because you just get such a small glimpse of the actual players before going into guys who might not even make the roster. But one guy who I'm fascinated by is Roquan Smith, and he was on the sideline there. And in the second half, as I'm watching the broadcast, about 10 o'clock at night, should I just go to bed and get ready for Good Morning Football? The broadcast crew, which consisted of Steve Levy and Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick, started talking about a conversation they had with the GM, Ryan Poles. Whether it was off the record or on the record, I think they were very enlightening in what they were saying, in that Poles was talking about how, you know, he's a very good linebacker, but did not say he's the best linebacker. How maybe if he was a corner or defensive end, this would be a different story. And another thing that they revealed was that, you know, there didn't seem to be this urgency. Like, we must pay Roquan. So I feel like wherever we were thinking this was going, like, I don't think there's an urgency on the Bears side. And I don't know how much longer Roquan's going to do this hold-in, because the season is rapidly approaching. And again, I don't know if it was supposed to be off the record, on the record, but my biggest takeaway was something that didn't even happen on the field. It was a conversation in the booth, and they were just filling time when the backups were in. And it doesn't sound like Ryan Poles is banging down the door to go give Roquan Smith the money that he thinks he deserves.
Not only has he been in every meeting and participating, he was out there running sprints on the field before the game. Like, he's healthy, he's ready, but then that makes it seem like there's not a closure.
It didn't come away from that conversation when you've got a former, you know, NFL executive in Riddick, and then Orlovsky, and then all three of them talking to Poles, and they didn't come by and say, Poles is banging his fist. We got to make it work. We got to figure something out. Did not get that feeling from that conversation.
I mean, Roquan, that's going to get back to him. He's going to know about that. And like you said, he's running sprints. We talked about Derwin James getting a deal, and the first thing he texts his agent is, all right, so I can go practice. And Roquan seems like the same type of guy. He's sprinting. He's doing everything. He wants to be out there, and you want to see how it plays out, but you want to see him hopefully get that deal and be able to take part with the Bears and actually be able to play with them on the field. But for me, you have Roquan Smith, who's going to be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. Is it going to be Drew Lock? Is going to be Geno Smith? Is Justin Fields going to make that improvement? But what stood out to me was the special teams. Special teams coaches today are throwing markers at the dry erase boards. They're going off because it was a roller coaster of a game. The game starts off, Felix Jones fumbles the opening kickoff return, has a nice one, but lays the ball on the turf. And as the game continues, he then gets a punt return where he makes some nice moves, like a 40-something yard return. You're like, okay, things are looking up special teams-wise. Look at this.
This is a big play.
Catches it, he retreats. This is what you want to see out of the young guy. Gets up the field, gets vertical, breaks the tackle, cutting it back across the field. Don't let the punter ever tackle you. And a nice game right there. And then it continues to go. You're like, okay, special teams is looking a little bit up. Punting the ball. We saw this on a highlight. Tough for this young guy. You got to be able to bounce back. Mental toughness is a big part of playing on this stage in the National Football League. He'll get another opportunity. It's the preseason. This last game, not a lot of starters play. Hey, make up for it, make that play. So for me, there was also a punt by Seattle where they're going to down it inside the 5. No, my guy, Justin Coleman, standing on the goal line, touchback. So I felt for my special teams coaches. They probably were having a drink or two last night. Just, you don't want to see that. There's 90 guys on the roster. I know there's a lot of guys, but you want to see guys perform better on special teams.
It's important to feel empathy for special teams.
You really have to.
You really
guys
have
are
to.
making the team because of special teams in the preseason.
What would Matthew Slater say? You know what I mean? That's what it all comes back to.
Slate's giving a speech right now, and he's pissed.
We need the Slater
cast. Cannot happen here.
Right? Yeah, no, it just does not.
Slater cast.
Slater cast. You know how Peyton gets so mad when they throw interceptions? We need a Slater cast where he just watches special teams.
I love that.
And throws pens.
We got to bring him on here to introduce it.
Yes.
I like it.
Maybe we will. My brain is just doing backflips about Justin Fields and my heart and everything. Let me tell you why. It's complicated. So you see Justin Fields played one drive. He's 5 for 7. They got a field goal. He's under a lot of pressure, guys. He's under, even in this, even against the Seahawks, who aren't exactly bringing T.J. Watt and Aaron Donald. And even the plays that worked, it's like there's almost always that. Almost every play, even the good plays. And if this is a hashtag harbinger, you're like, oh my God. I've adopted almost kind of like a parental relationship with Justin Fields, where like I'm worried about him. Like when your kid is walking through a parking lot, like there's a parking lot, we don't run, hold hands. Like it's so much pressure all the time, and even when there's always someone hitting him, about to hit him, and there's a good drive. Don't get me wrong, but like we got to get through 17 games of that. I will say on the positive side, it's refreshing that, oh my God, you can roll him out and you can move the pocket. There are no rules against it. You are not going to be flagged. And if we brought up the tape, which we're not going to because it's like a snuff film of him versus the Browns last year.
9 sacks.
Well, I don't know what they were doing, and I think that's why Matt Eberflus is there. So I don't want to spend 17 weeks looking at Justin Fields like a rodeo clown, like hiding behind barrels and stuff. But, man, I'm nervous.
At least the Bears know who's quarterbacking their team, though. Because
they do.
That's good.
10 for 18, 112 yards last night for Geno Smith. Is a nice number, but the problem with that number is he produced 0 points on the board with him under center. I was talking to our producer extraordinaire, Matt Hamilton, about this, and he brought up an excellent point that if Geno Smith was the guy, don't you think he would have gotten more on-field reps than 3 snaps with your top 2 wide receivers than just 3 snaps last night for Metcalf and Lockett? If he was the guy, you'd want to see more out of him. Has anyone ever won their job while being at home with COVID? Because a little bit I feel like that's what's happening with Drew Lock. Like the more of what Geno Smith shows us or doesn't show us, feels like Drew Lock could become the guy. And I'm a Drew Lock fan. I think he's a talent coming out of college. I think he got a bad shake in Denver. This could be a better fit with Pete Carroll. But it was weird watching that last night because convincing continues to be the word for me with these quarterbacks and these young guys. And Geno Smith, like, I want it for him, but I'm just not convinced. I am not convinced. And Drew Lock is sitting there, and all of a sudden our Seahawks fans like, we got to go with the other guy, even though what has he shown you? Yeah,
our friend Adam Rank had a really funny tweet about it. It was very like George Costanza to like get the job by not showing up.
Yes.
You know, it's do the no-show. You can't lose the job if you don't play. And like last night, look, it's not like Geno was miserable or anything like that. He was fine. He did some nice throws, but like I don't know if that was a bad night for Drew Lock last night. In fact, it was probably a good night.
Right.
He's got to get back on the field.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, my goodness, for Seattle, if we're starting a guy because he's not performing, he's not playing actually out there, but the guy playing isn't playing well enough, so we're going to just go with the other. Oh, that's right. Good luck.
It's so infuriating to me, too, to read this, like, working theory that, like, the Seahawks offense is just going to be based upon, like, run game, pound the ball down the middle. And then with those 2 great wide receivers, I'm like, what is happening? Why would you just put those 2 guys to waste? That would be so infuriating.
There was a funny sign, though, on the broadcast that they pointed out, and one of the Seahawks fans held up a sign said, we need Jimmy G, and we need him. And listen, the trade, I think, is the thing, but if they end up cutting Jimmy G and he's sitting there, and it's like, well, this guy's got COVID,
oh, boy.
Oh, we have that sign. There it is.
Oh!
All right, we need Jimmy G freaky fast by the gentleman in the goatee. JG in the red San Francisco 49ers font, woman in the background going through her clear bag. But, like, point is, that appears to be a Seahawks fan openly campaigning for Jimmy G. Peter Schrager, your thoughts?
I think the woman with the bag is very compliant. You got to go through security.
Clear bag policy.
Clear bag. It's she's still searching.
Yeah.
I don't, Jimmy G, I don't think they would trade him within the division, but if they cut him, and the Seahawks are like, all right, that's our best option, fine. But the way that Pete and John Schneider have been talking to us even before the draft, seems like they have a lot of faith in Drew Lock and Geno Smith. We'll see.
How's this Jimmy thing going to end? What do you think? We want an answer. You think they're going to cut him?
I don't know.
Yeah.
This right here, this is like quintessential preseason football. Preseason is in full gear. We've got 8 more live games.
Let's go.
Right here on NFL Network, starting with the doubleheader tonight. We've given you plans for your Friday night. It's Panthers. They're taking on the Patriots, 7 p.m., and the Texans square off against the Rams at 10 p.m. Your weekend is then packed with preseason action. You think you're going to the pool, the beach, you think you're going to have a Saturday? No. You're going to watch NFL Network. You're going to watch the quadruple header. NFL Network is your home for all of it.
And if I'm a corner, I'm biting on that.
I wish I had been able to play football in some capacity in my life.
Down the street, the Jets are dealing with an injury. I mean,
hey, sign her up.
Sign me up. Sign me up. All right.
We love sign her up, guy. Time for the lead block.
Green doesn't look good on me anyways. All right. We're going to start with the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson, who has been suspended for 11 games this season and will be fined $5 million for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. This is all part of a settlement reached between the league and the NFL Players Association. The settlement will also require Watson to undergo a professional evaluation and treatment. Deshaun spoke about the decision yesterday.
First off, I want to say, I'm very grateful for the NFL and the NFLPA for this disciplinary process to be, to a close and to an ending and have some clarity. And I'm looking forward to just moving forward with my career and being able to get back on the field as soon as possible. But, yeah, that's the plan, is to continue to grow as a person and individual and keep pushing forward. I've always stood on my innocence and always said that I've never assaulted anyone or disrespected anyone, and I'm continuing to stand on that. But at the same time, I have to continue to push forward with my life and my career. And for us to be able to move forward, I have to be able to take steps and put pride to the side. And I'm going to continue to stand on my innocence and keep pushing forward. And I've always, stood on not disrespecting or sexual assaulting anyone.
Commissioner Roger Goodell issued a statement yesterday that read, Deshaun has committed to doing the hard work on himself that is necessary for his return to the NFL. This settlement requires compliance.
The Bears and the Seahawks. The interesting part, of course, Justin Fields in action for Chicago. This is the very first play of the game, and Fields seems to have a nice connection with his third-year tight end out of Notre Dame, Cole Kmet. That's a 12-yard gain and a first down. Later in the drive, on a first down, play action, Fields, Khalil Herbert. Little 4-yard gain as Fields rolling right on that play. The very next play, he's rolling left at a designed quarterback movement, and he's got Kmet here 19 yards, and the Bears moving the chains. Later in the drive, they're in the red area with a 3rd and 4, and it's Fields going to dump one off for Herbert, who's not going to get close, and so they would settle for the field goal. Fields' night would be done after one drive, 5 for 7, 39 yards. The Bears would go on to win it by a score of 27-11. But the important piece of this, of course, the performance of the second-year quarterback. The offense looked a little better last night than it did in the first preseason game. He played the one series last night. The Bears scored points. He did not get sacked. The offense with Fields averaged 5.8 yards per play yesterday, which is significantly up from the first preseason game. We take these things for what they are worth. But as we watch the development here of Fields and what I think is an important season for him, Chris Canty, what did you see?
Well, I think some of the things that Luke Getsy tried to employ are important when it comes to the development or evolution of Justin Fields. The design rollouts, getting him outside of the pocket, moving the launch point, I think that's going to be critical when you see the offensive line struggles for the Chicago Bears. You look at 2 of the 4 dropbacks that Justin Fields had in that first drive, they were 7-man protections, and yet the offensive line still allowed pressure. So being able to move the launch point is going to be critical. Last year, only 15 design rollouts with Matt Nagy as the Bears offensive coordinator, head coach. That's got to change if Justin Fields is going to survive this year, but I do like the improvement on his mechanics, being able to flip his hits, set his feet, and deliver accurate strikes down the field. That's what you want to see from the jump from a young quarterback going from year 1 to year 2.
Mike Tannenbaum, you have significant concerns about the pieces they've put in place around him. What are they?
Yeah, I think it's reckless what they're doing. I would have taken Chris Morgan, their offensive line coach, their head coach, Matt Eberflus, and Ryan Poles, and I would have kicked everybody else out of the building and said, we are drafting offensive linemen for at least this draft and maybe in 2023. They drafted offensive linemen in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. That's not good enough. Justin Fields is a great talent, not a good talent, a great talent, but he may turn into David Carr. He has no chance to get through 17 games, Greeny. Job 1, 2, and 3 of developing a quarterback is protection. Imagine if that game was a regular season last night and crowd noise was a factor. So we'll really never know how good Justin Fields can be until they have a representative offensive line.
What do you think of it, Sacho? How concerned should we be? I use this phrase all the time. More young quarterbacks are destroyed than are developed in the National Football League. How concerned should we be if we're Chicago fans about Justin Fields at this stage?
Doom and gloom, Greeny. Doom and gloom. Let me tell you why. It's not just the offensive line that didn't protect well. It's the running backs as well. The first real pass play, Khalil Herbert whiffs on the block on a pressure. The next pass play, right, not including screens, you see a 5-man pressure. The O-line can't protect. The pocket gets collapsed. The very next pass play, right, you see once again there's going to be pressure from the right guard's perspective. That's Tevin Jenkins. Everything cannot be a design rollout. Everything cannot be a bootleg. Sooner or later, not just the offensive line, but the running backs and tight ends have to protect as well. And so from a guy who played for the Bears, who lives in Chicago, I feel and I sense the doom and gloom if the offensive line and the tight ends and the running backs, essentially the pass pro in particular, does not get addressed and get addressed immediately.
And so, Brooke, when you go around the league and you ask questions about the Bears in particular, what sorts of answers do you get?
I mean, look, at this point, it feels like the Bears have a Mercedes-Benz at quarterback, but they've given it used tires, no insurance policy, and he's driving on a road in Pittsburgh in March when there's potholes all over the place. So, like, what are you going to do? You're going to end up having to park the Mercedes-Benz because you can't keep it safe. I mean, he has Cole Kmet, and that's great. That was a good relationship that he showed with him last night, good chemistry. But beyond that, I mean, you've kind of got the island of misfit toys in his receiving core. The offensive line is porous. It's bad across the board, and you don't, like you said, you don't want to destroy a young quarterback. You don't want to have to park that Mercedes-Benz because you didn't take the proper precautions when you bought it. When you drive it off the lot, you want to make sure that you have everything going so it can at least reach, I mean, the 5-year warranty, and they haven't done that at all.
No, right now he's only in year 2. At 5 years is exactly right. They've got the 5-year contract with a first-round pick. We'll see how it develops through this first year, and I guess now his second year. Meanwhile, it was Dan Orlovsky, our buddy, was calling the game last night with Steve Levy and Louis Riddick and Laura last night. And it was Danny's birthday, and so they brought Dan a cupcake. Listen.
Who baked this at home? Which one of you guys?
Nobody, but I know you have a sweet tooth.
Oh, this is good.
And you're
okay.
You're a foodie. Is that going to be okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's
I wouldn't say I'm a
foodie.
foodie.
I don't know if he's a foodie.
I put some blue cheese.
Let's go with a cupcake now.
Put some blue cheese on top of that.
Blue cheese is gross. But this cupcake is fantastic.
He was using the candle as a spork. Is pretty much the only. Anyone have a thought on that?
No, who eats a cupcake like that?
I don't know.
I don't understand it.
You can't mess up the TV makeup. Also, I'm with Dan. Blue cheese is gross. Ranch for life. If it was a cupcake with ranch.
I don't trust any Dan Orlovsky food taste. I mean, you're talking about somebody that wants to put ketchup on macaroni and cheese. It's absolutely disgusting.
I don't know where to begin, but I know very few things in life with certainty, but I know that calling Dan Orlovsky a foodie is probably the biggest mistake a person could possibly make. But happy birthday, Danny. We'll see you back in here Monday. Dan, a staple of Get Up as we head towards the football season. Meanwhile, as we continue, speaking of Monday Night Football and on Monday Countdown, did you hear what a Hall of Famer said about Lamar Jackson last night? It was Steve Young. You'll hear why Steve thinks the Ravens are doing.
Grow up, you better leave me alone.
Yeah, you better get off him, Harry.
Grow up in no choir, boy.
All of a sudden, the 5 heartbeats just broke out here in Keyshawn J. with the max involved in both of these two. Justin Fields, there's no doubt about his talent. There's no doubt about it in anybody's mind. But many people are wondering, and we raised this question, Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL front office insider, when he's here about 30 minutes ago, in terms of not having the right pieces around him when it comes to the offensive line and how much he's really key, going to have to overcome the lack of talent that's going to be in front of him, trying to keep him upright and make sure he can be a productive quarterback in his second year with a new coaching staff.
Well, as long as he can stay upright and stay healthy, his skill set should keep him out of harm's way to a degree. I mean, Mooney at the receiver and Equanimeous St. Brown. It's not – look, they didn't go into this plan saying we're getting ready to win the NFC North. Mm-hmm. They went into this plan saying basically we're getting ready to strip it all the way down to the studs and rebuild it back up. And one of our foundational pieces is Justin Fields. And if you got that piece still intact, you'll be able to build it the way that they need to. They got about $125 million or so allocated toward the 2023 salary cap next spring. There'll be a number of free agent players that could certainly help this roster that will be out there available to go to Chicago. Chicago has been a destination for free agents in the past, and I don't see why they would be any different, especially when you got a young quarterback. And I know, Harry, a lot of people think, well, mentally he's going to be fragile. They're going to beat him up. No, he's not. No, they're not. As long as he's healthy and he don't get like some catastrophic career-ending type injury,
right,
he'll be fine. And I know based on the offensive line, it's like, well, no, but I don't think that way. And I'm sure they don't think that way. They're thinking we can get him the next spring, we're going to be fine.
And I got to say this, and I've been critical of the moves the lack of the moves that they didn't make this year. But at the same time, I will say this about Ryan Poles. They do have to break down what was going on with the old regime. And Rome is not built in one day. And I do know they have a plan. I just would have seen at least one guy on that offensive line get brought in from a free agent standpoint, or one skill position player get brought in. But the future, I'm giving you the key. I'm saying like Rome isn't built in one day.
Right.
I understand that.
But his confidence won't be wrecked by what's not around him.
No.
Yeah, and you can even tell.
He's not built like that.
Yeah, and you can even tell when he talked to Laura Rutledge of ESPN after the first drive last night that Justin Fields may not have a lot around him, but he's not going to lack for confidence.
We got Justin Fields here. You're watching the game, and I understand that, but I do want to ask you about what you did in your time out there, because the big emphasis from the coaching staff was your comfortability in the pocket. So how'd you feel?
Felt pretty good out there. I'm glad we got points on the board. So, of course, we wanted to get a touchdown, but, we're just going to keep working and keep getting better.
He's not going to be an up and down kind of guy. What I mean by that is he's going to do everything they stay even keel, no matter what's going on. It could be him putting out a fire one possession or the fire gets him in the next possession, but he's not going to lose his religion. And that's exactly what you need if you're building around a guy like that, if you're the Chicago Bears.
Well, the one thing that I saw last night, Freddie, is that they called the right plays for him to be successful.
There you go. That was key.
When in putting him on the perimeter, allowing him to set his feet, shoulders square, delivering the football on the crosser to the tight end. That's the sort of stuff that I want to see. Is just little things like that that make you believe, okay, he's going to be okay. They see the same thing.
Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports on YouTube at Iron Skillet Sports.